Good evening. Well, it's past the 11th hour here in Georgia, so my shirt says, Hear, pray, go. Isn't that divine? Again, I'm losing my voice, so I'm getting a little bit Barry White here at the end of the day, so scoot in a little closer here, and we'll have a little discussion. I named this bullet points. Um, it's more than one person had asked me why I was wearing this necklace. This is a 33. This isn't the exact bullet, but it's near it. And I want to bring you a story. Spiritual storytelling, it's what I do. I had a cousin I still have, my cousin a couple of years back. I was visiting him in Indiana. And he inadvertently went to go visit a friend who was cleaning a gun. And my cousin at the time, my cousin was 19 years old. Anyway, he was at a friend's house, and a friend's house was cleaning. The friend was cleaning a gun, and my cousin was seated right next to this young gentleman. And without no warning, the gun goes off, and it shot my cousin in through right here, right above, like right here. Okay, literally in the temple zone. It actually shot him right here, and it went through the inside of his mouth, busted up his teeth, kind of tore out the back of his mouth a little bit, and he had an exit wound right here. So I was visiting at the time, and me and his mother, which is my aunt, we got word. So we hauled it. We lived, and she still does, in a very remote place. So for us to even get to the smallest town's hospital, we knew would be quite a drive. And of course, they were already taking my young cousin by life flight to Indianapolis Hospital, which to us would have equated a 45-minute drive. When we arrived at the hospital, Michael, oops, I didn't mean to say his name, but Michael was coherent and awake, and he had gauze in his mouth and a little bit of a suction cup, but he was breathing on his own and very alert. And he wanted some pen and paper, and the first thing that he wrote was, "Dad had me." And I have to tell you a little bit of backstory. Anyway, this young man survived, and he's still handsome to this day. My cousin's always been handsome. So he had his sinuses removed, and other than that, losing some back teeth, he was able to get a full recovery, and it broke his jaw, so he spent some weeks with his jaw wired shut, but other than that, he was back to doing handstands in no time. Now, the caliber of bullet that was used on my cousin, inadvertently, was one step above this one. I believe this one's a 33. For you guys that know guns, it's I have a 380, so it's right in between a 33 and a 380. I think there's a 40 something in there, 40 gauge or something. I don't know, but he got shot with a rather large round, and he's still beautiful and handsome, and it should have tore off his face if not killed him. And like I said, he has an entry wound here and an exit wound right here, and he's still beautiful. So that made me it reminded me so much how we can actually live through the impossible, and how something like that would have affected my young cousin to be shaken and wakened, and to really value his life. Because I know that when we have near-death experiences, they're created so when we come back from them, we live on a different code. We got reminded what life was like and to the depth of it. I'm going to point out something old in a new way. The same theory of fear makes us, fear and pain bring out the best in us. And there's this movie Saw. I know you guys have seen it. Like, it goes, Saw 1, 2, 3, all the way to 10. In one of those Saw movies, there's a scene where the old, decrepit mastermind is dying, and he has a nurse there with him that he kind of kidnapped. And so she has a collar around her, and it's all shotgun shells and ready to go off. And it's all connected to his heart rate. So she lacks bedside manner, and as a doctor, she lacks humanity. So he aims to see to it that she keeps his heart rate down by showing bedside manner, compassion, and humanity. And if she's unable to keep his heart rate down, the collar then goes off. So her life is then attached to his life. And in that scene in the movie, you can definitely see how she has issues and troubles in her marriage and in her life. And at that moment, when she realizes her demise, or what could be her demise, all of a sudden, she longs to be with those that she just recently despised that morning. And in her eyes and her perspective is completely changed. And that's what happens to us when we're afraid and when we get scared. We automatically, at that moment that a quote gun would be to our head, we automatically remember what matters, and we come out of that moment more alive and in more clarity. So understand why the universe does bring us medicine that looks like fear, because it does make us move. And I wanted to tell you this other story since I was talking about cousins. That very same year, I had a young cousin who also didn't. He actually passed away, and he didn't even make it to the age of 30. And he was loved, and what a great goofy guy. And anyway, this other cousin of mine, this same year, in fact, it was like the same season. He had always ridden motocross and motorcycles and jumped things off of everything that could be jumped off of. He was a car guy, and he was a rider. So, like, vroom vrooms or the throttle back, So he loved ATVs, and he loved riding around, and he actually lost his life on an ATV having fun with his friends. And losing that cousin just mere months away from my other cousin, living through the impossible. And in the juxtaposition of that, of finding my other cousin who lost his life on an ATV, that's something he did all the time, and he had a blast doing it. And you would think, so I just want to bring forth through all those examples, the 3 examples I just thrown forth. The reason I wear this necklace is to remember to live like there's a bullet to my head. I.e., in the movie Saw, it brought out the best in her. It brought out what mattered in her. And if someone walked in the room right now and said, tell me your truths, or what if someone, said to you, live your truths, live your truths, speak your truths, like you got a gun to your head. Rather, you're in the movie Saw, and it matters to you at that moment, or you need to be reminded that, like, just like my young cousin, he didn't have it on his bingo card that day that he was going to get shot in the face, but he did. And thank God that he lived through the impossible. But and that rattled him, and that shook him, and to start embarking life completely different, and stop wasting time we didn't even know we were wasting. So it's almost like those big old shake-ups and those near-death experiences that come close as a bullet really get us going. They're fuel for us. So I just wanted to bring that to you. So that's why I wear the necklace. It just reminds me to live as close as a bullet lives to a gun. That life can be taken away just like that, and we can lose our lives and surrender our lives doing the very mundane things that we love to do, and we can also live through the impossible. So stay acute, stay on your toes. Don't be lackadaisical. Don't get tired of your life. Don't waste time being tired. And if someone walked into your life right now and proverbial or spiritually put a gun to your head, what do you want to do? Who are you? What kind of life do you want to live? What do you have to say to others that you're not saying? And this rings true for men that have experienced war. If, when men are in war and they come away from war, they're brothers. And they're brothers beyond skin. They're brothers beyond religion. They're brothers beyond sometimes a language barrier even. They are brothers. And they learn to be brothers out there on that field where bullets fly. Okay? And I think that that's profound. So maybe if that's what it takes to what does it take for things not to matter? If you're a racist, a bigot, a liar, or whatever, what have you, what does it take for us to have that not matter? Well, I bet a gun to the head would make it not matter. Because at that moment, at the 11th hour, think about the people in Pompeii. Okay, just think about that. They're all doing their own thing, and what matters is right in front of them. And they realize that there's doom and death in the air waiting on them in hours, whether they knew that or not. There has to be an idea that this is our last moment. And it doesn't matter who they shared their gaze with. there's something in the room that says, this is our last shared gaze. And did they care about what they were buying or what they wore or their religion or where they were from? No, I bet they didn't. At that divine 11th hour, they realized they were all the same, all in the human condition. And so I live close, and I know that none of our minutes are ever guaranteed, and we can surrender through the easiest things, or we can live through the impossible things. And I tip my hat to both my cousins for teaching me that. All right, so I just wanted to bring that to you. Little reed basket floating down the river.